get to it. Welcome back to Modern Relics Podcast. I'm Angel, he's Lucky. We're back again for another week, man.
Yes. Yeah.
Why,
barely.
yes.
Like, it's been a wild week. So yeah. Sorry we're late, everybody. That is my fault. I had a long day that was not intended to be as long as it was, but got here and am ready to rock, as the kids say.
Me too. I'm not sure the kids actually say that now.
I don't think they do. I don't think they even would know what that meant.
No. Yeah. I'm starting to find moments of weird nostalgia where I recognize that I'm like getting older.
Yeah.
Where I'm just kind of like, oh, I don't think anyone says that shit anymore. Like I said something, I think I said, good grief. And somebody jumped me like,
Charlie Brown.
They were like, what the, are you fucking 90? It was like, kind of. Yeah. I feel like it.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot of those vernacular that is dated vernacular.
Yeah.
And I will go into outbursts of dated vernacular that my kids don't even understand what I'm saying anymore. So, but
I love it. Yeah. Speaking of weeks, I'm still sick. So I had the COVID. I self-quarantined because I'm the only person I see pretty much full time. I got negative tests, and like 9 days later, I had to fly up for a work conference. I felt not great, but fine that week, like functional. And then I got back to the airport, and all I got at the airport was just people hacking and coughing. And I'm like, ugh, like, you know, everyone's pissed. They're furious that their flights are being delayed. There's ice storms. There's probably tornadoes. I don't know. Like fucking airplane doors are flying off the hinges in mid-flight. Everyone's pissed. And so I got to the airport, and I'm like walking to the taxi cab pick me up area, and I could already feel, I'm like, fuck, I have a cold. Like, oh, that came on quick. Pretty sure I picked something up. Anyway, I'm still sick, like a week plus later. And this weekend I did not feel good, which probably lends itself to a future story we'll have here in a few minutes. But either way, it just, I can't shake it, dude. So I'm starting to just now shake it a little bit. But all this last week has just been a nightmare. So hopefully you're in better health, at least, even though you've crazy busy this week. So
yeah, no, I tend to, and that's actually my trick, is that I tend to be too busy to get sick. And so I just outrun it. And it has actually, because like the last illness that kind of came through our family knocked all of my wife down for like a week.
Yeah.
It knocked both my kids down for about the same. I didn't get it. And that happens more often than not. And I honestly, and I'm being dead serious, I think it has more to do with the amount of chemicals that I deal with on a daily basis. With all of the
it's like natural formaldehyde.
Well, it's like, the meticides, the alcohol and all of the stuff that I use on a regular, all the time basis.
You're disinfecting yourself 5-6 times a day.
I think we're just kind of like tattooers are just kind of naturally immune to a lot of bugs. It takes a big bad bug to get us.
Yeah.
But it is, I think, it has something to do with it.
Probably.
And also, I'm just too mean. Like my inner core.
All the virus cells just die out because of the.
It is not a hospitable living space for viruses. They're just like, oh, this guy's going to be mean to us, so let's leave.
Well, I mean, the averages are probably that you're not wearing gloves more than you are, but throughout any given day, you're probably gloved up for 50% of your day anyway. You're covering yourself in, sterilization things. And so it makes sense. I mean, I guess that
I would say that tattooers are definitely, as a pure statistic, tattooers are gloved up more than dentists and doctors. Because we spend more time in them, where they will wear them take them off, within a matter of a couple of minutes, or even, we just spend more time in gloves than any other occupation, really.
Yeah.
So I mean, on an average work day, I'm in gloves probably a solid 6 to 8 hours.
Right.
So like, I have very buttery hands at this point. They're very soft.
Yeah.
So, which is a far stretch from my youth, when these two things were just basically leather mitts covered
just bricks.
in an inch of callus on every single hand. I could like pick stuff off of hot griddles without not even feel it at all. Now I'm like, I need a sleeve for my coffee,
dude. I did that.
I have sensitive hands.
I did that recently. I picked something up with my left hand off of the smoker, and just flipped it really quick. And I was like, oh, I can do that with this hand, because that's the one that's on the guitar strings all the time. Like, I have mad calluses on my fingertips now.
Yep.
Like, yeah. Otherwise, I'm sitting there typing all day.
It's like a superpower almost.
With just the one hand, though.
Yeah.
Exciting points this week. Not much, save for the fact that my beloved San Francisco 49ers are headed back to the Super Bowl. And I have often said, if God didn't love the 49ers, then why are sunsets red and gold? So I think it was destiny.
That's about as gay as the town they come from.
That's probably true. So one thing that I did find hilarious is that there's all these internet, conspiracy folks that were like, okay, so if you look at the last 3 years of the Super Bowl logo, the color scheme they chose in the background mirrors the two NFL teams that actually went to the Super Bowl at the end of the year. So it's all rigged, right? So now that it's purple and red, it's definitely going to be the Ravens against the 49ers. It has to be. And I'm like, this is kind of a stretch. Like, plus I watched the games, and if like 2 miracle plays didn't happen, San Francisco wouldn't be going to the Super Bowl. But obviously that was proven wrong. So I thought that was kind of fun. But to be honest, as a fan, it's exciting, and it's also terrifying, because if you lose in the NFC Championship game, you kind of brush it off and be like, well, next year, but now you're going to the Super Bowl. It's like, please don't lose the big one again. Please don't get all the way there and then crush my soul. Yeah.
That, as you know, I'm not an avid football watcher, but also I the one game of the year that I tend to catch mostly by accident is the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I do recall, it wasn't last year, but it was the year before that these two teams, the Chiefs and the 49ers went to the Super Bowl. Is that correct?
Here's the other conspiracy theory that's now popping up. The 49ers have to win this game, because the last time the Chiefs and the 49ers played and the Chiefs won, we went into lockdown for COVID at the end of or at the beginning of 2020 and shit. So yeah, it's a rematch from 3 years ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah. They're like, they can't win again, or we're going back into lockdown. So now that's the new prevailing conspiracy theory. I'm not a betting guy, even with my proximity to the betting capital of America. But I do enjoy the prop bets that they have, like what color Gatorade will be dumped on the winning coach. And there's actual, you could take prop bets on stuff like this. Or how many times are they going to cut? Obviously this year, are they going to cut to Taylor Swift in a skybox, blah, blah, blah. So I'm waiting for the release of all the prop bets and what the Vegas lines are on all of these things, because it's going to be glorious. But I'm excited for the game. It's happening in Las Vegas. I'm not going. I'll be right here on the couch. So
you can't just stand up on the hill or on your roof with some binoculars and
it's a dome.
Bummer.
Because most of the year is too hot for them to play in an outdoor stadium down here, especially wearing black.
That makes sense.
But it's like,
who chose that? Who did that?
Well, yeah, that they just kept it. They're like, well, they're gonna go from, where did they go? They were Oakland, then they were LA, then they were, let's see, the Rams went to St. Louis for a minute, and then I think the Raiders have always been in Southern California, if I remember correctly. But anyway, yeah, they kept the black and moved them right in the middle of the desert. I'm like, it's gonna be hot during fall training. you know, oof. But yeah, it's been an interesting week, dude. So I've been sick. It's story time. I gotta tell you, you shared with this pod, those of you listening and some of you watching, recently about some customer service experiences you had at a local store. I guess it was my turn. I guess the person that was helping me woke up on the wrong side of the bed this morning. I have no idea. So set the scene. Recently, I found a man in my front yard, and it looked like he was doing lunges, and it was cold that morning, and he had his hood up, and I'm like, oh, he's counting steps. And I'm just holding coffee, looking at my screen, like, who is this person? Let's go find out. So I opened the door, and just like a Scooby-Doo episode, lo and behold, it's Mr. Garcia. Now, Mr. Garcia is the landscaper that deals with two of my neighbors' properties, and I've talked to him about 15 times. And I was like, Mr. Garcia, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm going to do the rock landscaping for your front yard, finally. I was like, I asked you about that a year ago. And he's like, right, I've been busy. I'm like, I see you every week. Okay, let's do it, man. I still need to get the landscaping figured out. So sure, I'll be out of town next week, and then the week after we'll come back. So suddenly there's a landscaping project going on because a year ago I asked the guy to do it. So he gives me a quote. I'm like, oh, it was Mr. Garcia the whole time. Zoinks. All right, we're good. So he comes by, he grades out the front yard, and he's laying down all the grid lines where he's like, hey, if you need to put trees or plants or something before we cover this and then put the rock around it, go to the nursery and buy plants, and I'll plant them for you. Okay. So I'm ill. I'm sick. Finally this weekend, I'm like popping all the Dayquil. I'm like, okay, I got 2 big projects and 1 thing that I'm just interested in finding. So I have a car project coming up. I need to get a breaker bar to break loose one of the suspension bolts I have to work on. So I need to look for one while I'm at Lowe's. Secondly, I need to look for plants in their nursery. Just if they have anything, I can maybe grab a couple and we can get this front yard project done with Mr. Garcia. Great. The third thing I'm going to look for is some hanging toolboxes on the garage wall, because I have some older cabinetry out there that's like falling apart and it looks trash. And one of them I hit my head on routinely when I'm trying to walk around the truck in the garage. So like 3 things. I got this. I go to the Lowe's that I have spent, and I did the math, like $9,600 in this store in 2 years. I bought all my washing machines from there. I had to get, dishwasher from there, all my home improvement stuff, all the paint I had to do when I first moved in. Like, I spent a lot of money in this store. So Angel arrives. It's like 7:15 in the morning. I'm the only truck in the parking lot. I go in, I go straight for the tools. I'm staring at these breaker bars. I'm like, well, I don't see a 1-inch breaker bar. I see a 1/2-inch one. Probably will get the job done. So I flag a guy down, and he seems pissed that he has to come over. But it's on a little plastic hook hanging on a little metal hook like this, and it has one of those like magnetic locks, so you can't just take it and walk out the store with it or whatever. So now he has to go track down his magnetic unlocker key, comes back over, he's kind of fiddling with it, and I mean for like 2 or 3 minutes I'm just kind of standing there, and I don't feel good, so I'm just kind of like spacing off. And I was like, hey, you don't happen to have any 1-inch versions of this, just the 1/2-inch? He's like, if it's out here, it's all we got. Okay, fair enough, I'll take it. And it's a $22 metal handle breaker bar. That's it. So he finally struggles enough, gets it out, hands me the thing. And I kind of scoffed. I even said, I was like, it kind of sucks. We have to lock all this shit up like this anyway, but I appreciate your help. And he's like, anything else I can help you find? And I was like, well, I need to go to the nursery and look for some plants. And I'm also interested in toolboxes. So I can go browse unless you want to go help me find plants. And he's just stands there. I'm like, okay. I'll just go do that then. So I'm walking with my head up. Like, there's nobody in the store. I'm the only one. But I'm looking at which aisle to go down for the toolboxes, and I find the toolboxes. So I go down that aisle, and he's marching behind me, and he's like, anything else I can help you find? Well, you're here now. I mean, do you have these in black? I'm interested in that. And if not, or if you have to go look, I'll just look it up on the internet and see if you have one online or whatever. It's not a big deal. But like I said, I have a garage project I'd like to get to, and then I definitely have to go to the nursery. And he doesn't say anything. He just literally stands there and looks at me, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go to the nursery, man. Like, don't sweat it. I'm I'm done. So I start walking toward the nursery, and he stalks behind me again, probably 4 or 5 feet behind me, and he like aggressively shouts, "Can I help you find anything else?" And I like thought he was talking to somebody else, and I'm the only one here. And I looked at him and I'm like, "No, you're not helping me at all. Like each step of the way, I have what I need. I'm going to go look for some plants. I'm done with you, dude. Seriously." And like personal space, man. So I turn around and I walk through the nursery. I can see the arborist or whoever she is in the corner, and there's one other pallet loading guy there. And the whole thing's blocked off, by the way. You have to like walk in and back. It's like every other warehouse type store. He waved the manager over behind him. He's now probably 2-3 feet behind me that I didn't see or hear him creep up. And this is the quote that I heard from behind me, and I'm not exaggerating. "This asshole is trying to steal shit from our store and make a break for it to the parking lot." And I turned around and I'm like, "What the fuck did you just say?" And the store manager's eyes get super big. And he looks at the dude that just said that. And he's like, "Dude, that was and before he could even finish uncalled for, I lost my fucking mind. Is that what this is about? Fuck you." I like walked up to him like, "You know how fucking easy it would be to steal shit from your store? Like this." And I took my knife out and cut the plastic tab off. It's like, and there's not anything you or anyone in the store could do anything about it. 10 minutes, I lost my mind. Like, that's what this is about? You could have lied to me. You could have said, "Sir, it's not a Lowe's policy. It's a store policy that if it's locked up, we have to hang on to it. So I'm just going to hold this behind the counter until you're done shopping, sir. If that's okay with you, just holler at me and I'll come check you out right over here." I would have never thought twice about it. But instead, he just registered, "Hey, a guy that asked me to unlock some stuff 7 minutes earlier," and then asked several other questions that I did not answer, allegedly needed me to unlock a part that he planned on stealing the whole time, but like $22 part. So I handed it to the manager. I'm like, "There, why don't you go put that behind the counter until I'm ready to fucking walk out the store." I'm like, "And read the room. Does this look like a guy that's trying to steal a $20 fucking part from you? I'm the only one here. Like, all you've got to do is go out and at best get my license plate. At best. What are you going to tackle me, big guy? Come on." I was so fucking hot, dude. I mean, now there's a crowd. There's 11, 12 people, one of me, all 10 or 11 of them are employees. And I'm like, "Take your shit, get the fuck out of I lost it, dude, lost it. I was swearing. I was reciting incantations from foreign tongues. I was so fucking pissed. So I immediately softened my voice and turned around to the arborist lady that's like horrified and clutching her pearls. And I was like, "Anyway, if you could help me find a tree or maybe some plants, like this is the yard project that I have going on." I'm like, "That guy's a fucking asshole, but I'll deal with that in a minute." So we spent 3-4 minutes together, horrifiedly going through plants. She's like, I'm like, "I'm not mad at you." Like, what was just said was so uncalled for and breathing down my neck, like personal space style. And all I could think in my head was like, if you hit this man and there's a fucking wrench in your hand, you're going to jail for like, there's the adult me taking over as I'm like basically Donald ducking my way through this situation, just like the whole time. So I finally walk up. Now the whole crowd of employees are like up at the customer service counter waiting for round 2, except for the guy that said that. The manager like holds his hand out and he says, "Before anything else, I am so fucking sorry for what just happened back there. Like, I am dealing with it. Trust me, he's not on the floor right now. He's in the back and we're going to deal with this." I cannot believe he said that. And I'm like, "No, it wasn't called for. It was completely unacceptable. Like, do you know how much money I've spent at your store?" And I'm like pulling it up and I'm like, if I already knew that there was one of these at Home Depot, I would have left. I feel like shit. I want to go home. Give me my fucking part. I'm gone. Like,
wow,
unbelievable. But the balls of this guy, I'm like, because at no point through this entire transaction did I even remotely assume he's stalking me around the store because he's worried about loss prevention. And there's at least a trillion other ways that could have been handled better than saying "this asshole" at like this far away from the back of my head. And I stopped and went, "What?" And he's just like some shorter, older white guy with a ponytail that looks like he was burned out in the 60s or 70s kind of, and just hated every minute of his job. And I'm just like, This is how easy it would have been to get that tool myself and just snipped the thing off of it. I'm like, I would have just walked out, man.
Even in your sloppiest day,
I was wearing exactly this, but a red version of this overshirt, by the way, if you're watching.
But what I'm saying is that even in your sloppiest day, you would be hard pressed to look at you in any capacity going, this guy's up to no good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't have that look about you. And not that, like, how did you get profiled by this guy? Is he has to have been just either high or
I think he was just furious. I think he was just furious that he had to work on a Saturday morning and that I asked him to unlock a tool because he was busy standing there fucking around on his phone. But as the manager's walking me out to the truck and I was like, dude, I'm still going off. Like, do you think I look like someone that's just, no, sir, you don't. You absolutely do not. I was like, read the fucking room. Like, I have sunglasses on, decent sneakers, jeans. There's a brand new truck right here I'm about to get into. Read the fucking room. I know that was, I've never in my life seen him like, that's why you're the manager and he's not. Look, I'm out. So I took my rinky-dink little tool, got in my truck and went, you could have handled that better. And then exhaled and drove home because I probably could have handled that better. But I was so furious.
Being accused of something like that out of the gate without any provocation.
Yeah. And
I mean, there was no...
I told him at every step of the way what I needed help with and where I was going that day. And I didn't even need to tell him that. I was just like, these are the things I'm here for and I would like to go as soon as possible. And he just stared at me, just like, I'm like, okay, you're not helping. I'll just do it. It's fine. Thank you. I'll just go. Yeah. So that was my experience with Lowe's Home Improvement Store. Want to point that out. That's LOWES, Lowe's Home Improvement. I'm pissy because like it's so convenient for me to get there. And I shop there a lot, and I know what I'm looking for. I mean, fuck, dude, we got your smoker from there, did we not?
I was literally going to bring that up. I was like, that's the first place we went to when you came to visit last. In fact, the last 2 times you came out.
Oh, that's right.
That's the first place we went to. Yeah. So, like, you spend a lot of money in Lowe's. Like, we do too as a family.
Right?
That's, like, we spend a lot of time in Lowe's. And so, and it's obviously more convenient. Like, I prefer let's say the management and politics of a Home Depot over a Lowe's, but Lowe's is more catered to our needs, and also it is closer. It's just closer.
My dad kind of harps on me for it because he's like, you should get this from Home Depot and stuff. And I'm like, I would, but 2 things are working against Home Depot for me. Number one, the parking lot of the one by me, it's also a couple miles further, but whatever. It's hard to get in and out of. It's on a really wild intersection next to a freeway on-ramp that has like a cutback that you have to get into. So it's tough to get into. And the second thing is they sell contractor grade tools. I am Joe homeowner who will probably use this tool 3 times ever and don't need to spend for the ultra tough guy, super expensive Milwaukee grade. Like, this is what I do for a living. Now, if I was a contractor, I probably would shop at Home Depot a hell of a lot more and just deal with it. But Lowe's works for me. And so to your lifestyle point, me too. Like exactly what you just said. So
I love a hardware store. I love being in there, but practically, do I need most of the stuff in there? Absolutely not. But when I do need something, Lowe's is the most convenient for our family.
And it's down the road from where you work too. It's
right there. Yeah. Like, so it's like right by my shop. It's, it's in between my shop and my house. I don't have to go up like 95 to get to, or government to get to Home Depot. Like the Home Depot is just not conveniently placed. So we spend a lot more at Lowe's, and so, and I have noticed that the Lowe's in our town, which is very odd if you know the demographics here.
Yeah.
I've never known a hardware store to employ more green-haired
Right.
autistic teenagers
Right.
than this hardware store. It's baffling to me that there's that many androgynous, purple-haired, like completely lacking in any energy at all. People who do not know the product, do not know the store, are just sitting there in a blue vest, taking up space and a paycheck. And it just baffles me. I want a dude with a mustache. I want a dude,
Right.
you know,
I better see flannel under that blue vest. God damn it.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, and even like if I'm going over into the certain other areas, like in paint or in carpet or in the appliance area or the faucets or anything like that, if there's like a kind of an older granny lady who looks like she chain smokes out back when she's not actually, like,
Right.
I'll take that lady too, you know, and I'm okay with those. You know, there's this one guy at the Lowe's, I can't remember, is it? Yeah, it's the Lowe's here. And he's the loudest, friendliest black dude in the world. And you can hear him across the store helping people. How are you doing? You need something? Let me come help you. And like, I love this
it's
guy
like
because he knows where
the man that's
everything
in
is.
charge of uplifting spirits at all times by just being positive and being there. Yeah.
And he's fantastic. He knows where everything is. And if he doesn't, man, he is going to hunt it down.
Yeah.
And he's going to do it with vigor. And he's going to make sure you leave that place happier than when you went in.
Right. Take a little pride in your work. Like, yeah, exactly.
I love that guy.
Yeah.
I love that guy, you know? And so, and that's the thing, is that I always say with customer service it's either friendliness or efficiency. Give me one or the other. If you're giving me both, you're fantastic.
Right.
And you are an A1 employee, and I will recommend you. I will go to your boss. I will talk about you to your boss and say, this person needs whatever promotion is available to them. But if you've got neither, if you've got neither friendliness or efficiency, get out of the way. Get out of the way, get out of the job, go be miserable somewhere else.
Exactly where I was too. I was just like, he's not saying a word after he asked me a question and I responded. I'm like, okay, like, I'll figure it out. Thanks. And I left. And the thing is, like, I don't want this guy's head on a pike. I don't want him to get fired. I want an apology. And if Lowe's cares that much about it, sponsor the podcast. I would love a low sponsorship for brought to you by Lowe's Home Improvement.
The long game on that one. Yeah.
Right. By the way,
awesome.
We're hustling. No, it was just, I think what it was is I was so taken back at the aggressive plus name calling. Like, if they would have said, "Excuse me, sir," and I would have turned around and there was a manager and that guy there, and they would have still had an opportunity to handle it way better and said, "Hey, can we hang on to that until you're ready to pay up front? It's not a you thing. There's just a lot of loss prevention in the middle of the fucking suburbs where I'm at." Okay, sure. I'd have been like, "Yeah, dude, you could have
500 better ways to handle
you
that
could have started with that," and I would have said, "Yeah, just hang on to it. And I'll see you at the customer service counter when I'm ready to go, man. I got some shit to look at. Like, you're good." I would have never in a million years had let it. He was not prepared for my response, and I was not prepared for how far I was willing to take it. But the entire store saw that happen.
What was his reaction? Did he say a word?
Terrified, because I walked toward, like, he was 2 feet away, and I took a step toward him. I'm like, "Is that what this is about?" And I kept stepping forward, and he just kept doing this and getting further and further back. And then the manager was like horrified, and I stopped and turned to him and handed him the tool immediately. There's cameras everywhere and a bunch of witnesses. I'm like, "You can put that behind the counter then if you're that fucking worried about it." And then I went off because I'm just like, oh, but he was like, you know, thought, what, you're going to stare me down because I'm suddenly terrified at the sin I'm about to commit? Get fucked, man. It's a $20 tool. So anyway, he was removed immediately from the situation. Somebody else came and took him to the back, which was the right thing to do, because they don't know if I'm going to fucking snap and attack this guy in the store or not. And I wouldn't have, but I wanted him to think that I was about to, because I was furious. Like I could feel his hot breath on my neck when he says, "This asshole." And I stopped and it all like the puzzle pieces fell in and I just slowly turned around and I like, I have a point, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when you tip that point, I have to like really like bite my tongue until blood starts coming out of my mouth. And sometimes, but I was not having it. I was like, dude, you were such a dick to me the whole time. So anyway, don't call a customer an asshole and accuse them of stealing something when they're trying to talk to the arborist about flowers and potted plants for the front yard. It's not a good look. So dude.
This segment brought to you by Lowe's.
By Lowe's Home Improvement.
Improvement.
It's actually it's actually not. But in the end of all things,
but actually, in all seriousness, Home Depot, if you're looking to sponsor a show,
you've got a new principal customer, at least for now. I could have handled it better. I'll be honest with everyone listening. Like I did not pull any verbal punches for sure.
You were sick. I give you a pass.
I was like, I don't feel good. I don't want to be here. I told you what I was doing, and I'm in this. So, anyways, sorry for the language. That was that. So, we got to talk about. We had an idea last week, off air, right after the show, and that idea was, it's.
I'm excited for this.
It's an election year, and everyone's furious all the time, both sides.
Me especially.
Yeah, I'm usually furious even when things go my way. I'm like, it's just still not ideal, But I said, hey, dude, what if we do a draft? And so the idea I have is we'll pick the president, some cabinet members, and some key positions for fun. And we will pick anybody that's a politician or not throughout history that we would like to see in these key positions. And then we'll go turn by turn. So because you had a pretty busy week, we're actually going to do a part 2 to this, where next week you're going to have your rebuttal to the United States of America government draft, part 1. So the way we're going to cue this up is I have chosen a president, a vice president, a White House chief of staff, press secretary, attorney general, chief justice, and a handful of associate justices, a secretary of state, a secretary of education, a secretary of defense, secretary and deputy secretary of treasury. And then I also have secretary of Homeland Security and director of CIA and FBI. That's a lot to go through. And it took me, I don't know, dude, like 2 hours to like rack my brain for who I would want to do this and in each of these positions. But I think we'll have some fun. What do you think?
I think it's going to be great. I'm just upset that I had 7 hours of meetings yesterday and never got around to being able to get to do this, which is hence the part 2, which I'm actually happy that I get to do kind of a response to this. So, but I'm very much looking forward to seeing your picks. You, as a general rule, we both tend to lean in the same direction.
That's true.
I tend to lean a little further in that direction. You tend to be a little bit more in the centrist category. So like I'm actually kind of curious as to see who you have selected for your dream team. Like the what year was that Olympic basketball team?
That was yeah, no, there was the 90s, right? With Charles Barkley and Michael Jordan and all that.
Yeah, Scottie Pippen and all that, right? Yeah.
I should know this. It's an even number the Olympics fall on, right? So it would have been like 96, 98, something like that.
Remember. Yeah, something like that. I think it maybe even been
Sports
94.
Ball. 94? Could have been 94.
I think so, yeah.
I also have a gag reel version of this, which we'll discuss next week. We're going to have What Would I Not Want up. I put together a roster that now that you've seen it in the pre-show, I'm going to make a couple of subtle changes for next week, but I can't wait. So
it's just Gavin Newsom and the rest of them are empty.
Yeah.
King Gavin Newsom, and then everybody else are just subjects.
I think that would be great. Put a crown on him and everything, and then publish it to social media and be like, yeah, what do you guys think?
Here's my new cabinet.
Okay, so I think we go my version of bottom up, and then we'll go president last. Okay, so this is the United States of America government draft part one. This is Angel's version. So, Deputy Treasury Secretary John Maynard Keynes. So, for those of you that don't know, in the 20s, Keynes was a believer in the quantity theory of money, or monetarism. And the Secretary of Treasury is Adam Smith, who is widely regarded as the godfather of capitalism. I believe he was a Scottish guy also in the 20s. Maybe even earlier than that, probably late 1800s, early 1900s. There's our Treasury Secretary and Deputy Treasury Secretary. So let's look at military and defense. For the director of the FBI.
I'm actually really happy with your first selections there. Yeah. I like those.
Let's roll with some old school founders on that one. I thought, I was like, who better for a global economist than the father of capitalism?
Scotsman, nonetheless.
Couldn't think of anything else. So,
yeah.
Okay, so for FBI director, we're going with Sheriff John Allen. So for those of you that don't know, Governor Lou Jean, I think her last name is, imposed a gun ban on the entire state of New Mexico, or at least the city that the capital's in. John Allen was the sheriff that refused Michelle Lou Jean Grisham's ban on the right to carry firearms in the state's largest city and surrounding county, saying, nope, it's unconstitutional and it's going to spark political violence. I'm not enforcing this law. You just got a promotion, John. Welcome to the FBI.
I would actually be strange if not for the absolute abolition. And I don't know if when I get around to doing mine, I just abolish half these cabinet people out of the gate.
It's funny you mentioned that, dude. I thought about it where I was like, this is a useless position, and then put an animation in there where a red X just lands on it. And it's like, we're just actually going to take it away.
Yep, just not even needed. So if I was to not completely abolish the FBI, which would probably be my first choice, I think that any constitutional sheriff such as Mr. Allen would suffice. Somebody who actually abides and protects our constitutional rights instead of secretly violates them in any possible way that they can. So, and then goes after political opponents such as our current FBI.
Right.
And so, but yeah, I think that
it's a Freudian slip. Don't drop us, Home Depot. We're not even signed yet.
But yeah, I think that that is a solid choice. I think that if we can get and that also is probably the most important, just for listeners out there, probably the most important person in your local community is making sure you have a constitutional sheriff in your government. Anyone you vote for, if you can vote for a constitutional sheriff, that is the most important person in your county, because they have the authority over the feds for your county. They are essentially king of the county. And if you've got one, there isn't a single person outside of your county coroner who can actually arrest that sheriff, and he can kick out the military, he can kick out the feds, he can kick out anybody he wants to, and he can deputize anybody he wants to. That man is the most integral part of your local community. So make sure you research who you're voting in for sheriff, so that you can get a guy like this Mr. Allen, Sheriff Allen, down in New Mexico. So when the governor tries to jump in and take away all your firearms, this guy goes, ain't gonna happen.
Or any of your constitutional rights that just go down the toilet at the whim of a governor. Not a good call. Yeah.
So, a good power play on that. I like that.
All right. Here's where we're going to take a bit of a turn. And I'm not sure how folks are going to feel about this, but your new CIA director, Edward Snowden. Now, the reason we're doing this is not just the leaks and the potential treason element of this. Like, let's carve back the media fluff a little bit. Why he did what he did? Pretty radical. It's like, hey, we shouldn't be spying on our own. And in fact, some of these black book programs shouldn't be here at all. And these are massive, massive civil liberties violations. Not good.
Anybody who's going after that guy tends to be on my absolute shit list anyway.
Yeah.
And so that kind of tells me that they are that the man was doing the right thing from the beginning, not only just from the substance of what he was doing and what he was telling the public about, and that he was willing to put his life at a point where he's had to live 15 years in exile in
I think he's in
other
Russia,
countries.
right?
I think he's in Russia right now, for the sake of spilling the beans on corruption. That's the kind of integrity that I'm okay with.
Yeah, and no matter how that information was presented out, which appeared to be legitimate documents, who's that guy? The head
Julian
of
Assange?
WikiLeaks? Yeah, Julian Assange. Like, even if that was like massaged through his platform at that point in time, the fact remains Edward Snowden knew the consequences of releasing the information and willfully chose to do it anyway on principle, which for me, you're getting a promotion. You're going straight to the top, man. Ethics.
Now, once again, I would be like, Mr. Snowden, welcome to your new job.
Yeah.
Now you're fired because I'm abolishing the entire CIA.
That's right.
So sorry for the promotion, and then
you get 1 day's travel stipend, and we'll prorate your salary.
Right. So, but yeah. Welcome to America. Welcome to America.
Welcome back to America. The unemployment line is this way. Okay. Can you think of a better Secretary of Homeland Security than Paul Revere? This man told us the Redcoats were coming.
Oh, man, that's beautiful.
It's fantastic.
Chef's kiss.
Bring him back.
Okay.
Paul, come on back, dude. We need a Secretary of Homeland Security. Probably going to fire you immediately once you get back, but, you know.
We'll give you a stable with as many horses as you want. Yeah.
I want entrance music. Welcome him down. It's Paul Revere. Oh my God. You know, Paul Revere comes climbing out from underneath the apron with a steel chair like the Undertaker's. Oh my God.
Somebody on a tin whistle is just like going crazy.
Tin whistling. I got to get that on the soundboard, dude.
But yeah.
Okay. So
dude, he's perfect. Yeah.
Paul Revere. Yeah. I was kind of scouring around like, this is a position I would love to abolish personally as well. I think that there are agencies that are necessary, and I think there are some intelligence agencies that are also necessary within limitations, but most of what they do should be publicly available for review unless it directly threatens U.S. security with guidelines that are also enforced by Congress or something. I'm pretty sure that's how they set that up. They're just not following the rules. Anyway.
Right.
The Homeland Security shit, get it out. We don't need all this.
Gone.
We don't need the NSA. We don't need this stuff. So for the Secretary of Defense, I don't know anybody. This is one of those like should probably pick from a historical figure that was absolutely badass at defending territories, or maybe a modern person that would be absolutely right for the job. Instead, I went back to somebody who already served in this position, and we're bringing back Donald Rumsfeld. I also believe he was the longest sitting Secretary of Defense, if my research is correct. But a lot of wise decision making and cautiousness up until the plus minus media coverage on the Bush administration's reaction to 9/11 and stuff. Really, really had a lot of high degree of respect for some of the decisions Donald Rumsfeld has made in that position. And no one's really perfect. So I can't really think of somebody else, but I'm sure after this pod, I'll be like, there's 3 other dudes I would put in that role.
I already got my selection for it picked out, and it is not Mr. Rumsfeld.
No.
I am not a fan of his record, and I often put him into the category of swamp creature, who's just too bureaucratic for my taste. However, and I'll probably just give a teaser on this one for next week, but how about General Patton?
Yeah, we could do General Patton be a way better pick now that you mentioned it out loud.
So I think that man deserves a cabinet space in some capacity, but I think this would be probably very fitting for the next stage of the career of a man whose life ended too early. So, but yeah, but Rumsfeld. Okay, who's next?
All right, we have Secretary of Education. This one was tough. This was a tough decision because I went to the pool of some folks that I really liked and that I thought would make the cut. and I kind of danced around it, but I landed on Dr. Jordan Peterson, who's not even a U.S. citizen. But I think that would be awesome to kind of reboot the education system based on, teaching folks
to be fair,
how to
I think
think,
he does
not
have
what to think.
I think he has a dual citizenship now.
Oh, is it? Nice.
Yeah, due to the legal issues that he was getting into up in Canada for speaking the bad words.
Right.
That he felt it necessary to get U.S. citizenship, so he went through the correct channels, if you will, to actually get that lined up.
I thought about Candace Owens for a second, and I was like, I don't know, but I like her seminars, her education.
Yeah, she's
seminars.
great. Don't get me wrong. I think you're correct in Dr. Peterson in this particular position.
I do too.
Once again, the man would get a handshake and then a pink slip, because I would abolish the entirety of the Department of Education, because since its inception in, I believe, 1970 to 73, somewhere in there, every single test score in America has gone down ever since.
Yep.
Our education system has dramatically dropped since its inception. It is the bane of the education system in the United States. It has done nothing but travesty to the education in the United States. It does not need to exist. I believe its abolishment is necessary. And I also believe that every teachers union needs to go with it. And so, so thank you, Dr. Jordan Peterson, for 1 day of work. Here is your stipend and
you're
your
out.
slip, and you're out. Go do some more podcasts. We like to listen to your Kermit voice. I like I like your advice, but we will not be needing you for this position, nor anybody else.
And I think because Carrot Top was also in the running.
No, I couldn't do any worse than what's going on now.
No, I honestly, I think that, if I can't get a Kardashian, we're going to settle with Peterson. No, if we can get into what we would love to abolish and or create as government positions in a future episode, I'd be down to look at some of the structures. The problem with that is that would be a 16-hour series. I'm not kidding. Going through literally every department and bureaucratic sub-department and section of the U.S. government at this point in time to try and figure out where to cut the fat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I mean that earnestly. So, but I agree with you. I would probably abolish as well. So, Secretary of State, Tim Scott.
I'm cool with that.
I love Tim Scott. And
I think he's level-headed.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he's got the chops to do it. I think he's got the intelligence to do it. And
he did run for president. He filed at least, but then immediately, no polling numbers and just dropped out. So.
Yeah, it was before Iowa. It was the one right before. No, it was Iowa. That
it was Iowa.
So, but no, I think he's got good, solid character. I don't think he can be bought. I think he's part of the Freedom Caucus, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And I think that he is somebody who is absolutely committed to the understanding of what America was initially supposed to be. And I think that he would make a great Secretary of State, being third in line to presidency. And I think that it would, I'm super in. I'd be totally okay with him in that role.
All right.
And also, you don't have to be a member of Congress or the Senate to actually get voted in as the Secretary of State. So even if he's not in any of those roles currently, still would matter. He could still be voted in for that. And so I'm super okay with that. So.
All right. So we have Chief Justice and some Associate Justices. So the Associate Justices, I did not fill out. There's how many? 6? 8 of them? 6? 7 of them? 8 of them. There's a chief and 7 others, right?
No, it's always an odd number. So with the chief
and 6 others. 6-1 votes, right? 7 total.
No, there's 9 total.
Are there 9? God damn it! I should know this. There's 9.
So
I only wrote down
'cause
3 because
it's typically we get a 5-4 situation because Chief Justice Roberts typically votes with the other side.
Mhm.
And I know that in the last ruling, Barrett and no, it's normally 6-3 because you've got the 3 leftist ladies that
Right.
are still there, and then you've got Gorsuch, Alito,
Mm-hmm.
Thomas,
Kavanaugh.
Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, and then Chief Justice Roberts.
Yep.
So that's the 6, and then you've got the 3, Sotomayor. What's her name?
I know it too. The 3 Musketeers, basically.
Yeah, right. And they're always the dissenting, and they're written. They're whatever write-ups they do are always bananas. They're always nonsense and do not really even apply to the question at hand. It's like they don't understand the question. But anyway,
I love the Senate interview process for these positions as well. When all the nominations come through.
The Ketanji Brown Jackson was a nightmare, and she got it anyway. Like it was amazing.
Yeah.
So
I watched that a couple of times. I was like, unbelievable, dude. Like, yeah. So much fun. So I have 3 3 associate justices because I didn't fill in the rest, and then a chief justice. So 2 are easy. We're keeping Sam Alito and Clarence Thomas.
Okay.
We are bringing back the 27th president of the United States and former Chief Justice William Taft.
Okay. All right. Let's throw him in there.
And Chief Justice John Adams. Yeah. The John Adams.
Yes, please. I would be absolutely okay with that. There was nobody better that understood the law that he wrote. Right. So he's like, yeah, no, just read my old words. Like, I know what I said. And then they're like, yeah, but what did you mean? This is a living document. He's like, no, it's not a living document.
No, it isn't actually.
Not at all.
The ink and the paper stop right here in the bottom right corner.
Right.
Yeah.
And so let me clarify what I meant, and it would be great. I would love that. Plus, I mean, there wasn't a fairer man on the planet.
Yeah.
The man actually was, I mean, he started off in the American Revolution prior to everything. Like, one of the big things that happened with him is that he actually defended British soldiers in the Boston Massacre. And much to the dismay of Samuel, his cousin, and everybody else, are like, what are you doing? They killed our people.
Lots of dismay, great beer.
Yeah, very much. Yeah. And it is the same guy, by the way, if anybody wants to know. Samuel Adams beer is the same guy. He was a brewmaster. And the cousin of John Adams and one of the sons of Liberty. I almost said the Sons of Anarchy, but that's a totally different story.
Different show that was on AMC a while back.
Yeah, right. So he did not have a motorcycle.
Yeah, motorcycles though. Yeah.
Yeah.
These boys were on 1 horsepower back in the day, but we'll let them join the MC.
But he actually he won. He actually won for these guys and proved that they did not do it on purpose. But man, to the absolute utmost rigor of his own reputation. Like, his reputation was so on the line for this, and he knew it, and he did it out of integrity, and he did it because he understood that everyone deserves a defense, and he understood that even that crowd or mob rule should not be the law of the land, and there was no fairer man on the planet. And his counsel was his wife. Abigail was an incredible counsel to that man. I'm a huge John Adams fan. If anybody has not seen the Paul Giamatti HBO miniseries that came out in 2010, I watch it probably once a year. It is the most eye-opening and awakening miniseries that you can watch on the construction of this country, and I highly recommend it. It's a fantastic miniseries. Based off of
do you
the
think
book.
you know more about the X-Men's canon or the birthplace of America in the Revolutionary War period? Like quizable. At this point in your life, do you think you know more?
At this point?
Yeah.
I would...
Because you're an encyclopedia on fucking X-Men too, by the way. Just because I didn't grow up with comics. So
I would embarrassingly say the X-Men, unfortunately. I wish I could say the American Revolution and that.
Something Department of Education, 1976, something.
But it's actually, you know, what's crazy is that I spent the vast majority of my youth invested in comic books and invested in the X-Men and loving the X-Men and understanding each character. And it had a lot to do with the artwork and the fantastical stories and stuff like that. But those sponge years when you're learning at such an accelerated
rate, retain the weirdest shit. Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
And now I'm older, and it's harder to retain stuff. And I haven't even put as much time into American history and American Revolutionary history as I would like to. But it is such a vast interest for me now that I spend a lot of time like studying it. And
Kootenai County Spectator says in chat, the X-Men for sure.
Did they really?
Hey, they did. Copy that.
That is for sure. Yeah, she's right.
I was razzing you, but I think John Adams is the candidate for this role. I'm excited for it. I think you're right. I'm going to slide toward Attorney General here. And this was kind of a meme because like he just cut a rap song on Spotify.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It's Ben Shapiro, but to be fair with you,
Attorney General.
I don't wholeheartedly and unilaterally agree with everything that he says and just get spoon-fed the information. But when he challenges what's wrong, it's hard to find fault in it. And he is also an attorney as well.
Yeah.
So
and he's surgical when he's on. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I'm like, you know what, Attorney General, we're gonna chuck Ben Shapiro in there and see how he does. I'm a fan of it so far. So far, I'm a fan.
Okay. I would. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of Ben Shapiro. I would not personally select him, and it's for one bias.
Yeah,
and it is for the fact that no matter what, we would constantly continue to give money to Israel. And I love Israel, but I don't want to support its government. I don't want to support giving them our tax dollars. I don't think we should give any country our tax dollars. But he would insist upon it in that position, and that's my one caveat on him. Outside of that, I would absolutely think that he would make a great attorney general. But that would be his number one caveat.
Like the kids I talked to today that have no problem standing with Ukraine, but have a tough time standing with Texas.
Yeah. Oh, did you talk to some kids about that today?
Sure did. Not today, but this weekend. I was like, wonder where our priorities are. But I agree with you there. That's
a hard take.
The funnel funding toward Israel at some point, like allies are great, and there's limitations there.
I think allies are great, and we should fund them when it's absolutely necessary and needed after, and only after, we've already handled our own problems, such as our border, such as our homeless, such as our infrastructure, such as our, all of our things are top notch. Then we can go, hey, we got a little extra. Who needs some help? Dig
up that dead horse and beat on it again a little bit. But how much money did the folks in Hawaii get? What was that again? All right, a one-time $700 payment. Awesome.
That's right. Yeah, which is probably going to start shifting that state to a different color here pretty soon in this election. So, which is wild that state would ever go in a different. But we'll see. When the current administration has done literally dick all to help them. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to piss off an entire state? I mean, reckless disregard for their safety and the humanitarian crisis that occurred on one of those islands is aberrant behavior. Agreed.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a playbook I stole from you in a conversation we had 2 years ago.
Okay.
I can't think of somebody who could face the press as a press secretary better than Donald Trump. So we're putting Donald Trump in as the press secretary to face the fake news media each and every day for a full-time job, because I think A, he would love it. B, I think it would be awesome. C, it would be must-see TV again.
Yeah, it'd be my favorite show for sure. I would tune in every day.
Yeah.
I think the world would. I think the whole world would either hate watch it or love watch it or cringe watch it. One of those three.
Yeah, but they're watching.
They're watching.
Either way, there's eyeballs.
And that would be the beauty of it, is that it would draw every single eyeball to that press secretary every single time. There'd never be a time that you like, I'll see clips of the current ones and I'm like, oh, this lady's so dumb, or this this guy, oh, that was a fire clip, but I'm not tuning in to watch every press secretary junket, right?
I think you have to be a member of the press to even want to do that. Like,
I would set up pay-per-view for this one. I would.
Oh God, that'd be great.
I would subscribe to it. I subscribe to nothing, but I would subscribe to that.
HBO would be bringing out run-up series. It'd be awesome. So I think it's going to be great.
The rest of your cabinet, whether they're there or not, whether we've abolished their positions or not, the rest of the cabinet could get work done because the whole world would be watching that and nothing else, and it would be the best thing in the world. Yep.
I love it. So,
but that also suggests that man is not sitting in the presidential seat right now.
Right.
So that's fascinating. So okay,
it's heating up. It's heating up a little bit. So here's where I took a day trip through Pass. I looked really, really, really hard at the Tea Party caucus members from the early and mid 2000s. And for the White House chief of staff, because I wanted somebody that was like, moreover, excited about the truth at all costs. I looked at the record and why she quit eventually, because she didn't want to be a lame duck and was tired of spending state money on rebuttals to her alleged accusations of it's coming left and right. I landed on Sarah Palin for the White House chief of staff. And I don't hate that. I don't think it's a cabinet. It's obviously not a cabinet position, but it's a prominent one in the White House. And I think it's somebody that would be very, very invested in every other person that's on the cabinet and working in the White House, as well as some key decision-making and hiring, especially for those that do the due diligence, the researchers, all that stuff. And I really appreciated, at least in the first term, what Sarah Palin was able to do in Alaska. And how transparent she was. So Sarah Palin got my vote in for White House chief of staff, and I would probably abolish that position too. Just
well, first things first, what she's got to go in is like, and this is actually a bigger problem than people realize, and there's a lot of circles that talk about this, is that her job would be to come in and fire the entire staff and liquidate everybody that's inside the White House and anybody attached to their position, because that's where those people hang around, and they're the actual influencers of what the swamp actually is all of the people that are hired, that are staff members within the White House, that go from this president to that president to that president, and they never leave, and then they pass on all this information, and then they're the ones actually steering the boat. So what we're actually doing is bringing her in.
Chat says Kash Patel.
And I would agree with it. Kash Patel is a great choice. I was also thinking for Attorney General for Kash Patel too. But that being said, with Sarah Palin, she has gotten the knife's edge of the Washington elitist political knife.
I think she was the first real example of getting drug over the coals to that degree.
Yeah, so she's got a bone to pick, and I would be super okay with that woman with her new eyes wide open kind of situation going in there and going, you're all evil, you're all gone, going through with an axe, cutting everybody, and then we fire her for the sake of that position not being needed anymore. However, if she does that and then hires just an amazing staff of my handpicked people or your handpicked people and go, here's your list of people you can choose from, Sarah Palin, then
she
I would
could stay.
allow her to stay and keep that job. But beyond that, I think that's a solid pick just for revenge sake, and also because I think she's got the chops to do it.
I do
and
too.
I don't think she's anywhere near the idiot that Saturday Night Live would love to portray her to be. But I think that she's actually a pretty solid pick.
And those were the days when it was still kind of funny. Like the attacks were still Saturday Night Live level attacks and who can impersonate political figures and so forth. But to your point, I mean, when you really dig in, I was all about it. And she's one of the Tea Party folks that I actually resonated with the most for being able to accomplish stuff. And then subsequently not running for another term because she recognized she would be a lame duck at that point with the amount of backlash that was coming her way, and said, if I'm not effective, I'm not doing this job. I'm out. You guys deal with it.
Yeah. Yep.
So we're down to two, vice president and president. So vice president, Ron DeSantis. I know he just dropped out of the race. I'm happy to bring him right back in.
I thought he was going to be up at the top for you.
He is not at the top.
Since Trump is over at the secretary. This is fascinating. So, okay.
Yep.
All right. So
we've talked quite a bit on this pod about Ron DeSantis, and we know my feelers on the man. I think if nothing else, I would like to see what he's able to influence.
For one reason.
What's
I don't
that?
like this pick for one. You took Donald Trump and you took Ron DeSantis. You've left Florida completely unprotected. But that's it. So the Floridians are now at the mercy of whatever nonsense is coming their way. But that would have happened.
Well, I mean, they just need to look up to the shining example of Georgia, and they'll be just fine.
Yeah. Totally fine.
It's gonna be great. Yeah. I like Ron in this position for several reasons. Okay. I like the fact that you'd be able to influence, you'd be able to spin up proper discussions. I like that he'd be able to connect with the people a lot more, be able to take a look at where the money is going and how well things are performing, as well as being a good voice in the cabinet as well for the president. So I'm perfectly okay with him if something happened to the president becoming president in the term. And that's where he landed, vice president, Ron DeSantis. Sorry, Florida. You're going to have to figure something else out.
Yeah.
See if Greg Abbott can bring somebody that he knows. Hunting. Yeah, go governor hunting. Go governor shopping, as it were. Hunting's such a tough word and under context. All right. You knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Harold Watson Gowdy III, or Trey Gowdy, for president of the United States of America. He is my favorite politician of all times, and it's not even close. And the work that he's done after leaving Congress even is still admirable. And like, I enjoy everything the guy stands for. I don't think I've disagreed with him once. And I think for somebody that's kind of a no bullshit, let's find the truth, let's get after what's right and what squares with the law, which seems to be a recurring theme in Trey Gowdy's conversations with people.
Yeah,
he's the president. If I got to draft
the silver
government,
fox, huh?
That's it. Never the same haircut. By the way,
never the same
haircut. I mean, even later that week, somehow I was like, I just saw you on TV with a different haircut, and it's like the next day, and you have long hair. Like, how did this?
He's trying them all. It's like Pokemon for him. He's gonna try them all.
Not a position I would abolish, but definitely somebody I would probably hire a stylist for. Just say, keep it consistent, man. You're gonna have a lot of pictures throughout your time here. What do you think about that? Trey Gowdy for president. It's a big job.
I have also been a huge fan of Trey Gowdy, and not only from his congressional work, but from his earlier work on Forensic Files, whenever he used to pop up on Forensic Files as the South Carolina's attorney general and head prosecutor down there. Mm-hmm. Watching the progression of his hair get like more and more silver throughout the years of that show. But no, I thought he was my favorite congressional combatant throughout his history there. The clips of him I could play on repeat as he dismantled anybody that stood in his way. He's the one man I would fear. I would go, I'm just going to jail if I was up against him in any capacity. The man has laser vision and focus on anything that he puts and sets his eyes on. But he seems to be a man of high moral regard as well. So I absolutely love him. Now, did I agree with him on some of on how he handled certain things? No, but as I get further down in understanding of how things work in DC,
full Lowe's home improvement store pissed off employee on a few people, and I loved every minute of it.
Oh, I fully agree with you. However, no, what I'm saying is not his regard, but how certain votes and certain things that he did. But now understanding how that stuff works on the back end. At first I was like, well, why did Trey do that? He betrayed us.
Right.
And but now understanding later on how the dealings in DC work, I'm probably a little bit more forgiving in that regard. And he got out and he was just like, this swamp's too deep and I'm not going to do any work here. I'm going to go try to do work outside of the swamp and try to
get stuff done.
Right.
It's common theme. I mean, same exact words from Sarah Palin as well. Like,
yeah, he's a dad and he's a husband and he had other things going on. And he was he loves the law and he was a lawyer. And it was very hard for him to sit in there and try to negotiate with a bunch of evil cretins.
Non-answers and forced by subpoenas to sit there and drink coffee. Yeah.
What good are these silver-tongued words that I have like a sword every day stabbing every single person if nothing's to come of it?
Right.
If nothing's to come of Hillary Clinton after I just basically eviscerated her in front of television cameras, why isn't she in jail? From the things that I just said, which should be, I'm a prosecutor, I know how this works. But for some reason it doesn't apply in this venue. And I couldn't imagine his frustration. So I think that it's a solid choice. And I think that he would be on the world stage not only respected but feared, and that would be a very good thing. I think that people would be like, this guy is a no nonsense. He will not back down. He's going to dismantle one of
the main reasons he floated to the top, not just because he's like my emotional pick, is the fact that I thought about that too. I'm like, this guy would be awesome as arriving as a G7 foreign diplomat. Yeah, dude, like imagine. Like, that's so that's my part one. That's my current government draft. One. Yeah, it's my current government draft. I know we're divergent in a couple of spots here and there. Right. All in, I couldn't get
I would
Chester from the Cheetos chips in every positioner I would have, So.
Well, I would be comfortable with your cabinet. Let's put it that way. If it wouldn't be my, obviously wouldn't be my top choices, but there was enough good ones and enough like great ones in there that I think given this as a cabinet that was offered to me, I would accept it. I would go, okay, I can live with this. I can absolutely live with this. And I would be very comfortable living in a country that was being operated by these people. So, yeah.
Could you imagine all these crazy things going up to the Supreme Court and John Adams is just like, no.
That's probably my favorite one. The John Adams Chief Justice would be amazing. Yeah.
No, I think my hallmarks are probably John Adams and Adam Smith, the Treasury Secretary, if we're going to keep that roll around. I do like Tim Scott. So that's it. That's my part one. That's drafting the U.S. government from an armchair right here on the Modern Relics. I think next week we'll have a rebuttal from Lucky. Also, I want to put what I would not like to see on a cabinet, and I've put up kind of a gag reel to this exact same setup. So we'll go through the who we wouldn't and also your rebuttal next week. I cannot wait. Kind of tipping the hat a little bit. The idea of this, and I know you were busy, but was to go line by line back and forth. So we'll give you some time to prep because I can't wait for my reaction to yours next week. It's gonna be exciting.
Oh, I'm gonna love it. Yeah, so I'm gonna put some heartfelt thought into this, and there'll probably be a little humor involved, but yeah, I would say that there might even be some surprises that you didn't really think were coming. But
Nice.
yeah. And I promise I will fill the cabinet spots, not just mark them out with an X and just go, none of these positions should even be here. I will fill them with the caveat that if I cannot abolish said position, this is who would be good enough for it. So, but
yeah, and obviously we're missing some critical pieces here and there, but I kind of put this together on short notice, so I couldn't find too much more I wanted to, because a lot of the stuff truly is a rabbit hole. Like you go down and you're like, oh, this entire department was spun up as a subsection of another department that equally has very little merit in the decision making for the country at this point. Like, why do they have a budget? You know, and then you're 3 hours in and you're like, just fill the paper out. Just so yeah. Anyway, so that was what I had for this week. I don't know if you had extra stuff. The last thing I wanted to talk about was just a little film review, so to speak, but
not really. My week has been pretty much consumed by work. I've had some meetings of the political nature that kind of consumed all of my excess time to kind of come up with some stuff. I mean, you did touch on kind of, I thought that I didn't have time to look into it, but there's the whole like, oh, what's her name? The chick who's dating the Chiefs quarterback guy.
Oh, Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift, yeah. Right. That there's a whole bunch of heat going on with that girl. I was going to try to bring something like that up, but I literally had no time to look into any topics. And then
no time honestly, for Tay-Tay this week, unfortunately.
I have no time for Tay-Tay.
People are unsubscribing right now. I can hear them.
All the teenage girls in our chats are like, why?
Right? So, why would you do this? Yeah.
But yeah, no, I honestly wish I had more to bring. I think you've done a wonderful job this week of filling the gaps of where I've left off. But yeah, no, it's been a hectic week. So
understood, man. Understood. I know you're in the getting through the Sandman piece, but I've got another mini series that I'm bringing to the house tonight.
Well, can I give you a little update on Sandman?
Do it.
I'm almost through season 1, and man, Neil Gaiman couldn't be happier with what they did with his series. I think that he is. I haven't really looked into it, but me watching it from somebody who read the comics is going, yeah, he's got to be thrilled with this.
Right.
The guys that they picked to play Morpheus is phenomenal.
Super good, right?
Yeah, he embodies that character perfectly. The cast is incredible. The acting is incredible. Mostly the storytelling and the visuals. Mm-hmm. It is visually stunning. It is a gorgeous show. That being said, the statistics of there being that many gay people in one continuum is not even mathematically possible.
Like there wouldn't be as many humans in this universe if everyone was that gay. There would be no procreation. Yeah. It was pretty thick. Yeah.
I was like, oh, them? Oh, you too. Okay, you too? All right, you as well. All right, wow.
There's a lot.
And now, normally that kind of woke push agenda would normally bother me. In this particular case, it's Neil Gaiman. All Neil Gaiman's kind of gay anyway. So, like, it's kind of par for the course. So, like, it is. I mean, even like Stardust had Robert De Niro was gay in Stardust. So like it just kind of comes with the territory with Neil Gaiman storytelling. But it's blessed with an enormous amount of imagination and an enormous amount of beauty, because he really understands the visuals of what he's trying to convey, and he's a genius writer. He's a brilliant writer, and so I am enjoying it very much so far. So I plan on finishing the rest of season 1 hopefully tonight.
Cool.
And then we'll be starting. There's a second season, right?
We'll have to double check on that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Right. If not, it's highly anticipated. Okay. But That's the weird thing about Netflix shows too, by the way. Even if it's wildly successful and popular, there's no real guarantee they're going to drum up a season 2 for it and stuff like that. They will just kind of, with no real rhyme or reason, I'm sure they have their reasons, but they just cancel stuff. So maybe we won't.
Get your
I don't know.
shit together, Netflix.
Yeah, I don't get it. It's like, but you'll spend an enormous amount of money on some random comic that's on the come up that you'll give an hour special to that's kind of not that great here and there. Most of them are pretty good, but I don't know. So
not everybody can be a Nate Bargatze or whatever.
Yeah, Nate Bargatze's awesome, or Bill Burr, or somebody. He was
actually just in Spokane. I think he may be this week in Spokane. Yeah, so
such a good show. I really like his comedy a lot. For a clean comic, it's all lifestyle and relatable. He's
one of my favorite. Yeah, one of my favorite now because of you. But anyway, so you said you had watched a show.
I did, yeah. So there's a limited series out on Netflix as well. It's called Muscles and Mayhem, the unofficial docu-series of the American Gladiators.
American Gladiators?
Yes. And dude, I remember
that as a kid?
I only had 2 channels as a kid, and occasionally the American Gladiators would come on, and I didn't know if it was like live or if it was like syndicated rerun kind of thing, because they had a really weird start, and it covers this. It was like, we're selling the idea before it's even formulated. This one crazy guy came up with it, and he's all proud of it and trying to put his name all over it, but all the producers are trying to get it to figure out how to work. Then it wouldn't sell. Then a big publicity stunt. Then someone bought it. And the first episode pilot didn't do well, this, that. And it was just up and down and up and down. But you get to follow like 4 or 5 of the original American Gladiators, and 2 of them were on every season together.
Blazer, Phaser, Caesar,
right?
Yeah, and then
Cesar Chavez. Everybody was there, dude. It was crazy.
That's great.
Yeah. So you get to see them, and they're like how they are today, and they sit down and they just start to talk about stuff, and they're like, they don't know what to say, and they're kind of like whatever. But as the series goes on, they start to warm up to like, you get their soul kind of comes out. And they're like, and then this happened, and then this is where we were at this point in time. And like, it just kind of takes this interesting, like, human being story driven arc through all the craziness that was a show that in retrospect would never get aired in a million years. But it is also directly responsible for, in my opinion, things like American Ninja Warrior, and like 100%. A bunch of, like all the other like challenge types of things.
OG of those challenge shows.
But we're looking at stunts in the early work, and you're going to love this, but it's like, okay, we're going to take a human being and have them swing down a rope toward one of the gladiators who's holding a small mat on top of a large pylon bracing for impact. And your job is to try and knock this man or woman off the platform. And like, you can see their heads snap back, the concussions, like their ankles getting twisted, and nobody thought, oh, what if they get hurt? There was no backups. They didn't have extra gladiators in it's an incredible series that at the end of it, you're kind of invested in a few of the characters, and you're like, well, I mean, it's a lot like a professional wrestler, but these people had real backgrounds. One of them was like an Olympic athlete that had a hamstring problem and couldn't compete in the Olympics, and so she went to become an American Gladiator and got in right away. A couple dudes that used to play football back in the day and washed out of the pros or were injured out of the pros, that made what turned out to be one of the craziest periods of American television, because
it
was one of the
remember.
It was like the first point in time when people were like, this is smut trash TV, and you're just destroying the American television scene with these crazy antics. And what is this, like professional wrestling? And it was just bananas, dude. But it covers it all.
I remember thoroughly, because I'm probably 6 years older than you, so this was right in the prime I was the prime demographic for this show.
You're the one getting the popcorn, getting ready for American Gladiators.
Dude. Yeah, American Gladiators. Like, whenever I would go to a friend's house, because we also only had 2 channels, and American Gladiators was not on one of them. So, so I would get to watch it at friends' houses, and dude, American Gladiators was like, it was. I mean, American Gladiators and Baywatch at the time were probably neck and neck with being like what you watched. And it was such a crazy like mid 90s muscle fest of like crazy,
dude.
like nothing else
Just
had been
twisted
on TV
steel
like
and
it.
sex appeal guys with the long hair. Yeah, dude. Like,
It was wild and it was so much fun to watch.
yeah.
And all of the characters and the craziness that was going on. But you're right, it always had like kind of a weird starting, the way it started, and then the syndication was always super off and weird on it.
Yep.
But I highly like it. It is a staple of core television memory for
Same.
me.
Like I remember like Star Trek, American Gladiators, MASH.
Oh yeah.
What was another one that was just a constant on TV? And Letterman. David Letterman was on Channel 2 for us for years and years and years late at night. So those are like but I saw that and I was like, oh shit, I remember that, because there was two of the games that they did with the gladiators where one gladiator would be on top of a platform shooting tennis balls out of like this pneumatic cannon, trying to hit the other contestant as they're running to safety and hitting a button. And then the big steel balls, they would have to like run inside of like a hamster in a wheel that they would crash into each other on the floor, and they had to race to get points. I loved that stuff. I was like, this is incredible. But you get to follow the story as well for all of the stuff that they tried that didn't work out. That was like, this is like contestants are getting hurt, gladiators are getting hurt, helmets are not being worn. Like, we have them in spandex, like they're
reckless behavior, just like
they had no idea what they were doing at all. But the best part is toward the end of the show, there is an absolute psycho that is one of the, I think he was the director of the show. And like, you get to see about all the stuff he used to bring on set and how weird he was around the girls. And like, you could see as they're interviewing him, he's just has full creep vibes, dude. Like, he's almost Dahmer style vibes. And you're just like, what is this guy? Then they cover a couple of like recurring contestants toward the end, and you're like, this took a left turn. I didn't expect this to happen. So I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but I think it's like 5 episodes, maybe 6. I consumed it all weekend long because I felt like shit and I was just sitting on the couch. But it's really, really fun watch, and it's very nostalgic. I might put
Sandman's on pause for a minute.
Give him a spin.
And trade out for some
muscles and
pink,
muscles and mayhem.
Blue and pink spandex instead.
Yeah, dude. So I just it's I don't know. It was actually just a fun watch. I was like, oh, I could do this.
The lighting in your room right now is very American
Gladiators, yeah.
So
I could change it.
Great.
I could actually get the whole. I could get the whole. Probably blasting bannering up and down, and I could get a soundboard song for American Gladiators. I'll try and get that in there for next week. But so super fun watch. I know you would resonate with it because it's that time period. I did not expect it to be as entertaining as it was, especially looking back, and then also getting invested in a lot of the characters. And then they start to realize, even as they're being interviewed, and at some points they were like, oh yeah. And then like at that point, we had no idea what merchandising rights were. And the contracts we signed had the words in perpetuity on them, which means forever. So we couldn't renegotiate anything once we realized, hey, we're actually rock stars now. So it just the games that were played in Hollywood, and it's all of it. And it was so well done for being an unofficial docu-series. I think they didn't pull any punches either, because I don't think they were financed by an interested party from Samuel Goldwyn Studios or the release agency or MGM or whoever,
those are the better ones.
It was kind of in your face toward the middle and the end, and it was just fun. I recommend it. So
yeah, I'm starting it the minute we wave goodbye to our audience. I'm probably going to go put on some episodes.
Well, and that's probably right around the corner. I know I'm on an intermittent fast at the moment, so I will go enjoy breakfast right after the show. That'll be my meal for the day, or at least for today, and get this thing online. So
I can smell tacos upstairs.
Nice.
So that's where I'm going.
Nice.
So,
well, hey, and also appreciate the participation in chat today on YouTube. You can find us on YouTube if you're listening to us on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. We're Modern Relics Podcast. Check us out, modernrelicspodcast@gmail.com. And we're looking for sponsors for the show. So if you're interested, Home Depot or anybody else, Lowe's, we could use a little feedback, maybe. We'll see. But
Netflix, maybe.
Yeah, Netflix. Come on.
If Netflix is listening, here's a shot at putting out something that ain't crap.
Hey, so yeah, that's it for me this week. I think I'll let you go get some tacos, brother. But this was fun.
Awesome. Yeah, it was. Thanks. Everybody.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. We will see you next time.